Hey guys, welcome back to the third lecture on the chapter Chemical Equilibrium. In this video, we will be studying in deeply about the factors affecting equilibrium. And the topics that we will be covering in this video are shift in equilibrium, Le Chatelier's principle, effect of change in concentration, effect of change in pressure and volume, effect of change in temperature, and finally effect of catalyst. Now guys, before starting with this video, let us make a deal. If you do not like this video or if you do not understand anything from this video, then do not hesitate to hit a dislike button. But I am 200% confident that you will surely like this video and understand each and every topic if you watch this video till the end. Now to understand the topics, let's move on to my book. So guys, first of all, let us consider a reversible reaction where A reacts with B to give us C plus D. So guys, since it is a reversible reaction, it is obvious that A will react with B to give us C and D, and C will react with D to give us A and B back. Now, let's assume that you are a manufacturer of C and D. Now, since you are a manufacturer of C and D, your desire will obviously be to maximize the product. Am I right? You would like to create maximum amount of product from the raw materials. Okay. Now, let us understand this equation. Guys, can I say over here that 1 mole of A reacts with 1 mole of B to give us 1 mole of C and 1 mole of D respectively. And in a backward reaction where the products turn into reactants, can I say that 1 mole of C will react with 1 mole of D to give us 1 mole of A and 1 mole of B respectively. Now, let's say before the start of the reaction, we have 100 moles of A and 100 moles of B. Now it is obvious that if the reaction has not started, then there will be 0 moles of C and 0 moles of D. Now, after certain interval of time, what we observe is that now we have, let's say, 15 moles of C and 15 moles of D. Now, if 15 moles of C and 15 moles of D has been created, can I say guys that 15 moles of A and 15 moles of B has been consumed? So you will subtract 100 minus 15 from the number of moles of A and B. I hope you understood. If you have produced 15 moles of C and 15 moles of D, then it is obvious that 15 moles of A would have reacted with 15 moles of B to give us 15 moles of C and D respectively. So guys, now can I say that we have now 85 moles of A remaining and 85 moles of B remaining. Now mind you guys, since it is a reversible reaction, then simultaneously when A is reacting with B to give us C and D, C will react with D to give us A and B back. So both the processes, that is the forward reaction and the backward reaction, that is the reverse reaction, are happening simultaneously. Okay, don't forget that it is a reversible reaction. Now, after certain interval of time, what we observe is that guys, now we have only 75 moles of A and we have only 75 moles of B, which means that from the initial amount 25 moles has been decreased. Now if 25 moles of A and B has been decreased, then it is obvious that 25 moles of A and B has been consumed to give us 25 moles of C and D respectively. Okay. Now again, after certain interval of time, what we observe is that we have 60 moles of A, 60 moles of B, and it is obvious that we are going to have 40 moles of C and 40 moles of D respectively. Now at this condition, where we have 60 moles of A and 60 moles of B, whereas we have 40 moles of C and 40 moles of D, let's say a chemical equilibrium has been established. Now I hope guys you all know what is chemical equilibrium. What is chemical equilibrium? Let's understand. Suppose 5 moles of A and B react with each other to give us 5 moles of C and D respectively. Same will happen with C and D. C and D will react with 5 moles and will give back 5 moles. So here can I say that when 5 moles of C and D is created, we are also getting 5 moles of A and B. So guys, can I say over here that same amount of A and B is getting converted into C and D, and same amount of C and D is also getting converted into A and B. So here can I say, since same amount of products are being produced, the number of moles are not going to change. Now at chemical equilibrium, we will always have 60 moles of A, 60 moles of B, 40 moles of C and 40 moles of D. This ratio of concentrations is now constant. It is not going to change. Why? Because chemical equilibrium has been now established, and same amount of C and D, whereas same amount of A and B is getting created in reverse. Now, but as mentioned earlier, you are a manufacturer and your job is to maximize the product. Am I right? But instead of maximizing the product, you are getting only 40 moles of products. So guys, can I say you are not a good producer because out of 100 moles supplied, 60 moles are as it is and you are getting only 40 moles as product. So can I say that you are getting less amount of product because a chemical equilibrium has been established. Now as a manufacturer, what you will expect? You will expect the chemical equilibrium to take place when you have 90 moles of C and when you have 90 moles of D at least. So when you have 90 moles of products at least, at that moment you will expect the chemical equilibrium to take place. Okay, so if you are having 90 moles of C and D, then it is obvious you will be having 10 moles of A and B respectively. So you expect the chemical equilibrium to happen at this condition, but you are getting the chemical equilibrium at this condition where you are having only 40 moles of products. So can I say guys that you need to change the chemical equilibrium? Am I right? You need to change the chemical equilibrium. So you need to change the chemical equilibrium from this state to this state where you are having maximum amount of product. Now this change in chemical equilibrium is called as shift in equilibrium. Okay, we will understand this topic ahead in a much better way in this video itself. Okay, so when you change the state of equilibrium, it is called as shift in equilibrium. Now how are you going to bring about a shift in equilibrium? How are you going to change the chemical equilibrium? That is, how are you going to bring about a shift in equilibrium. So you are going to make shift in equilibrium with the help of Le Chatelier's principle. So you are going to make use of Le Chatelier's principle, which helps us to understand how to change the equilibrium, or instead how the equilibrium is affected when we change the temperature, when we change the concentration, or when you change the pressure and volume, or when you apply a catalyst. So Le Chatelier's principle will help us to understand the change in chemical equilibrium with the help of change in temperature, concentration, pressure and volume, and catalyst. Okay, so I hope guys you have understood up till now that you are not getting sufficient amount of product because of the reversible reaction. A chemical equilibrium was getting established and you are not getting sufficient amount of products. So you need to change the chemical equilibrium state where you can get maximum amount of product. And how you can going to change the chemical equilibrium? You are going to change the chemical equilibrium with the help of the Le Chatelier's principle. And what is Le Chatelier's principle? Le Chatelier's principle helps us to understand how will the chemical equilibrium get affected when you change the temperature, concentration, pressure and volume, and with the help of catalyst. Okay, and this change in chemical equilibrium is called as shift in equilibrium. Okay, so guys, this is your Le Chatelier's principle. Now guys, don't pronounce it as Le Chatelier's. It is a French name, that is Le Chatelier's. Those who know French might be knowing this. Okay, so let's see what Le Chatelier's principle has to tell us. If any external stress is applied to a reacting system which is at equilibrium, then the system will adjust itself in such a way that the effect of the stress is reduced. Now after reading this sounds like a physics definition. Am I right? Actually, we have to relate it with chemistry now. Don't worry guys, I have a personalized definition about this Le Chatelier's principle which I will be writing over here. Don't worry, just let me first of all explain you all. Here the stress means concentration, temperature, volume and pressure. Here the reacting system, who is reacting over here? It is nothing but a chemical reaction which is at equilibrium. And which equilibrium we are having over here? We are having a chemical equilibrium. Am I right? We are having a chemical equilibrium. The system means what? Again, the chemical reaction will adjust itself in such a way that the effect of the concentration, temperature, volume and pressure is reduced. Now let me read it over here and then I will write below. Okay, so this principle tells us that if any external stress, which means that if we change the concentration, temperature, volume and pressure to a reacting system, which means that if we change the concentration, temperature, volume and pressure of the reacting system which is at a chemical equilibrium, then the chemical reaction will adjust itself in such a way that the effect of the change in concentration, temperature, volume and pressure is reduced. Okay, so now let me write it in the definition in a personalized way. Okay, so this definition is exactly right, which I'm going to write below. Don't worry whether it is right or wrong, it is right, but just it is a personalized definition which you will not be finding in any of the textbooks. Let's understand. Okay, so if we change temperature, concentration, volume, or pressure of the chemical reaction. Okay, so understood up till now. If we change the temperature, concentration, volume, or pressure of the chemical reaction, then what is going to happen? Then the equilibrium state, then the equilibrium state will be disturbed. Am I right, guys? If you change the temperature, concentration, volume, or pressure of the chemical reaction which is in equilibrium, then it is obvious that the equilibrium state will be disturbed. And now, since the equilibrium state has disturbed the reaction, the chemical reaction, what it will do? The chemical reaction will adjust itself, in such a way. Okay, so the chemical reaction now is going to adjust itself in such a way that the effect of change in temperature, concentration, volume, and pressure is compensated. Okay, so now let me explain you all. See, if we change the temperature, concentration, and pressure of the chemical reaction, okay, so if you change the temperature, concentration, volume, and pressure of the chemical reaction, then what is going to happen? Then the chemical equilibrium state will be disturbed. So when you change these four parameters, the equilibrium state will be disturbed. Next, now since the equilibrium state is disturbed, what will the chemical reaction do? The chemical reaction will adjust itself. Okay, so the chemical reaction will adjust itself. And how it is going to adjust? It is going to adjust itself in such a way that the effect of the change in temperature, concentration, volume, and pressure is compensated. So the chemical reaction is going to adjust itself in such a way that the effect of change in these four parameters will be compensated. And how it is going to compensate? How it is going to compensate? By establishing a new equilibrium. Okay, so we disturbed the previous equilibrium, so the reaction is going to adjust itself in such a way that it is able to establish a new equilibrium. And guys, trust me, if you write this definition in an exam, your teacher is surely going to get impressed. Okay, so guys, I hope you have understood the basic definition of the Le-Chatelier's principle. And if you have understood this principle, then guys, the rest of the video is just going to be very easy for you all, and this topic is going to be a very scoring topic for you. So guys, now let us understand the effect of change in concentration on the reaction which is at equilibrium. See, just now we have seen that we are going to change these four parameters, and among these let us study the first one, that is change in concentration. Okay, so for that, let us consider a reaction where nitrogen reacts with 3H2, and it is a reversible reaction obviously, to give us NH3, ammonia. Okay, this NH3 nothing but ammonia. Now assume, okay, so completely assume guys that you are a manufacturer of ammonia. Okay, so you are a manufacturer of ammonia. Now guys, can I say over here that 1 mole of N2 is reacting with 3 moles of H2 to produce 2 moles of NH3, whereas in return, that is in the reverse reaction, 2 moles of NH3 are getting dissociated into 1 mole of N2 and 3 moles of H2. Okay, now let's say you have 30 moles of N2, you have 90 moles of H2, you have, let's say, 45 moles of NH3. Not necessarily you are going to have always same, right? So you have this much concentration and a chemical equilibrium has now been established, which means that the change in amount of reactants to products and products to reactants is now same. Now you are worried that you have got only 45 moles of NH3, and as a manufacturer you obviously want to maximize your production. Now to maximize your production, you need to change the chemical equilibrium state. How are you going to change the equilibrium state? Let's understand. Let's say that you remove 20 moles. So out of the 45 moles that you have obtained, what you are going to do? You are going to remove 20 moles. Now if you remove 20 moles, how many moles are still left? Can I say 25 moles are still left? Now can you see over here guys that the concentration has been decreased from 45 to 25. So in a chemical reaction, what you have done, you have decreased the concentration, and since you have decreased the concentration, then as we all know that the chemical equilibrium reaction is the chemical reaction is going to adjust itself in such a way that it is going to compensate the effect, which means that if you are decreasing the concentration, the chemical reaction will try to increase the concentration. It will fight back and it will try to increase the concentration, because now the concentration on the right hand side has decreased and the chemical equilibrium is now disturbed. Now to get a new chemical equilibrium, it will increase the concentration on the right hand side. But how is it going to increase the concentration on right hand side? That is the question. Let me consider this reaction. N2 plus 3H2 and 2NH3. Very easy question for you all. When is the concentration of products going to increase? When it is obvious that the forward reaction is going to dominate, which means that the reactants will react with each other and more products will be formed. Am I right? When the forward reaction dominates, that is when more products react with each other. Sorry, my bad. When more reactants will react with each other, more products will be formed. So when this both react with each other more products will be formed. So when the forward reaction is taking place, guys, can I say that the concentration of NH3 is increasing, but at the same time the concentration of N2 and 3H2 is also decreasing. So it is obvious that as a manufacturer you will be happy. Why? Because your reactants are now getting completely used and you are getting more amount of desired product. Okay, and after again certain interval of time there will be a chemical equilibrium established. When the volume of when the moles of NH3 will increase and the reactants will decrease, again a state will be achieved which is nothing but a new equilibrium state. Okay, now let me explain it once again because this is a very important one. Okay, see, initially you had 30, 90 and 45 moles of NH3, this N2, H2 and NH3 respectively, but you are a manufacturer of NH3 and you want maximum amount of NH3. So you are worried that you have got only 45 moles. Now since you are worried, what you are going to do, you are going to remove 20 moles out of it. So out of the 45 moles, what you are going to do, you are going to remove 20 moles. And when you are removing 20 moles, can I say that you are changing the concentration from 45 to 25? Okay. So when you change the concentration from 45 to 25, it is obvious that in this chemical equation, since the concentration is being changed, the equilibrium state will be disturbed. Now since the equilibrium state is disturbed, the chemical reaction will try to achieve a new chemical equilibrium state. And in order to achieve the new equilibrium state, since you are decreasing the concentration, it will fight back and it will try to increase the concentration. And meanwhile, when it is increasing the new concentration, can I say that the forward reaction is dominating, which means that the reactants are reacting with each other to give us products. The forward reaction is dominating. And when these reactants are reacting with each other and converting into products, can I say that the concentration of reactants is also decreasing. So as a manufacturer, you will be happy because your reactants are getting completely used and you are getting more amount of NH3. So can I say here, since the forward reaction is dominating, that is from left to right, we say this change in equilibrium as right shift in equilibrium. Okay, so this change in shift of equilibrium is called as right shift in equilibrium. And it is obvious, guys, that after the forward reaction is done, again a chemical equilibrium will be established. Okay, done, understood this one, quite easy. Now here we had decreased the concentration of the products. Now what we are going to do, we are now going to decrease the concentration of reactants, and let's see what is going to happen next. So let us consider the same reaction. Okay, so it will be easy for us to relate. N2 plus 3H2. Now let's go a bit fast, okay, because we have understood now what we have done. So we have 30 moles of N2, we have 90 moles of H2, and let's say we have 45 moles of NH3. And at this condition, a chemical equilibrium has been established. Now guys, let's say that you decrease 15 moles from them. Let's say you remove 15 moles. Now since you are removing the 15 moles from them, can I say that you are decreasing the concentration? And since you are decreasing the concentration, the reaction will try to increase the concentration on the reactant side. The reaction will try to increase the concentration over here because the left hand side has now reduced its concentration. It has less concentration as compared to the right hand side, which is necessary for a chemical equilibrium state. Now since the concentration is decreased, the reaction will try to increase the concentration. And how will the reaction increase the concentration? The reaction will increase the concentration by dominating the backward reaction. Which means that it will now convert this NH3 to N2 plus 3H2. So when this NH3 gets converted into N2 plus 3H2, the concentration is going to increase as we wanted. And since the backward reaction is dominating, it is called as left shift in equilibrium. Okay, so whenever backward reaction is going to dominate, it is called as left shift in equilibrium, and whenever forward reaction is going to dominate, it is called as right shift in equilibrium. Now another condition they might give you in the examination, don't get confused between this. For instance, let us consider the same reaction only. Okay, backward reaction, forward. Now let's say that you add the concentration, add moles. Let's say you add moles on the reactant side. So when you're adding moles, can I say that you're increasing the concentration? When you're increasing the concentration, it is obvious that the chemical reaction will try to decrease the concentration. Okay, and how is the chemical reaction going to decrease the concentration? By reducing the reactants, that is, it will dominate the forward reaction now. Okay, so it will dominate the forward reaction so that the reactants decrease. Why? Because you have increased the concentration, the reaction will do reverse of it, it will decrease it. Okay, so here since the forward reaction is dominating, we say it is nothing but right shift in equilibrium. Now let's say we add moles over here. Now if you add moles over here, what is going to happen? That you guys are going to comment below in the comment section, and I know that you are smart enough to answer this very easily. So now guys, here we are considering two parameters together, that is the effect of pressure as well as volume on the chemical equilibrium. Now this pressure and volume is interdependent. Let's see how they're interdependable on each other. For that you must be knowing the ideal gas equation, PV is equals to nRT. Now for those who do not know this ideal gas equation, don't worry guys, I have already made a separate video on this. You can find the link of that video in the description box below, or you can simply click on this I button over here. Now with the help of this equation, what I am going to do, I am going to shift this V on the right hand side. So guys, this is what I get, and V upon RT. Now here can I say that pressure is inversely proportional to volume? Now why I am saying so? Because if you increase the pressure, what is going to happen? Your volume is going to decrease. Or else if you increase the volume, it is obvious that the pressure is going to decrease. So pressure and volume, they both are inversely proportional to each other. Okay, now we have understood this one thing, that pressure and volume is inversely proportional to each other. Now let us consider our equation, N2 plus 3H2, which is nothing but a reversible reaction giving us 2NH3. Now in this reversible equation, which is our forward reaction? What is our forward reaction? A forward reaction is nothing but a reaction in which the reactants get converted into products. Okay, so this is our forward reaction. Now if you observe one thing over here, in the forward reaction initially we are having 4 moles, 1 plus 3, 4 moles of gas, and in the product side we are having only 2 moles of gas. So guys, can I say over here that the number of moles is decreasing? Am I right? Here the number of moles is decreasing in a forward reaction. Similarly, if you write the reverse reaction, let's see what is going to happen in a reverse reaction. And what is a reverse reaction? A reverse reaction is nothing but a reaction in which the products turn into reactants back. Okay, so 2NH3 will turn into the reactants N2 and 3H2. Now here if you see, 2 moles are getting converted into 4 moles. So guys, can I say in a reverse reaction the number of moles is increasing? Okay, I hope you have understood these 2 points. In forward reaction the number of moles is decreasing, and in a reverse reaction the number of moles is increasing. Now keeping this thing in mind, let us consider a container over here. Let's say this is our container, and we have a piston over here, a movable piston which we can move up and down. And let's say guys that inside this container we are having this complete reaction, that is we are having the N2 molecules, the H2 molecules as well as the NH3 molecules. Okay, so I am drawing these molecules over here. These all molecules are mixed, guys. Then what I am going to do is that, see, I am going to now increase the pressure. I'm going to increase this pressure on the piston. Now when I increase the pressure on the piston, it is obvious that I am going to push it downwards. And when I push the piston downwards, what is going to happen? When I'm increasing the pressure, the piston is going to move downwards, and as it is moving downwards, can I say that the volume is also decreasing? Can you see the change in volume? The volume is also decreased, and this is what we already have derived, that pressure is inversely proportional to volume. If you increase the pressure, it is obvious that the volume is also going to decrease. Now due to the change in volume, what is going to happen? Can I say guys that the molecules will now come closer to each other? Initially they were far away, but now since you have decreased the volume, what has happened is that the molecules are coming close to each other. Now ahead what I am going to do, I am going to consider a volume of 1 meter cube. Let's consider any volume. I am going to observe any volume of 1 meter cube. Same volume I am going to observe over here also. Now what I get to know here guys, that in this 1 meter cube I am having only 2 moles of gas, whereas here in 1 meter cube I am having 1 2 3, let's say 4 moles. Okay, let's assume that we are having 4 moles of gas. Now guys, can I say over here that the number of moles have increased per volume? And if the number of moles increase per volume, then can I say that the concentration has also increased? What is concentration? Concentration is nothing but how many molecules are present in 1 meter cube or any area or any volume, I mean to say. So here can I say that the concentration has increased? Why? Because the number of molecules have now increased. Okay, so keeping this in mind that the concentration has increased, what will the reaction do now? The reaction will try to decrease the concentration. So if we are increasing the concentration, the reaction will try to decrease the concentration. And if I say it is trying to decrease the concentration, which means that it is trying to decrease the number of moles of a gas per meter cube. Am I right? If it is trying to decrease the concentration, which means that it is trying to decrease the number of moles of a gas per meter cube or any volume. It is trying to decrease the concentration. So over here, which reaction is decreasing the concentration? Can I say the forward reaction is decreasing the concentration, because in the forward reaction we are getting only 2 moles after 4 moles are reacting. So here, since the number of moles is decreasing, therefore it is obvious that the concentration is also going to decrease. Now since the forward reaction is dominating, so can we say, since the forward reaction is dominating, then it is obvious it is nothing but the right shift in equilibrium. So there will be a right shift in equilibrium that will be taking place. I hope guys this concept you have understood. I know it was a little bit tough one, but I hope you have managed to understand. If you have not, then I will just quickly revise it. Okay, see, initially you had this container in which you have the reaction taking place. Now what you do, you increase the pressure, and when you increase the pressure, it is obvious that your volume is going to decrease. And since the volume decreases, now what I am going to do, I am going to consider 1 meter cube of volume just for my observation. And what I observe, in 1 meter cube of volume in this container, I am having 2 moles. Okay, let's consider 2 molecules or 2 moles. Let's say 2 moles. Okay, I am having 2 moles of gas, whereas in this container, in 1 meter cube, I am having 4 moles of gas. Now since in 1 meter cube here I am having greater number of moles, then it is obvious that the concentration has increased over here. And since I have increased the concentration, what is going to happen? The reaction will try to decrease the concentration. And since the reaction is trying to decrease the concentration, how it can decrease the concentration? By decreasing the number of moles. Why by decreasing the number of moles? Because the formula for C is nothing but N upon V. So if you decrease the value of N, it is obvious that the value of C is also going to decrease. And when it wants to decrease the number of moles, then it is obvious it is going to support the forward reaction, because forward reaction is already decreasing the number of moles by converting 4 moles of gas into 2 moles of gas. So here the forward reaction is going to dominate, and hence the forward reaction is going to dominate. Therefore the right shift in equilibrium is going to take place. Now instead of increasing concentration, let's say that I had a container over here, and what I am going to do, I am going to now increase the volume, that is I am going to decrease the pressure. Now since I decrease the pressure, then it is obvious that my volume is going to increase. And if my volume is going to increase, now if I observe over here, if I compare these two over here, the concentration is also going to decrease. Why? Because here they were closely packed and here they are loosely packed. And since they are loosely packed, the concentration is going to decrease. And if the concentration is going to decrease, the reaction will try to increase the concentration. And how it can increase the concentration? By increasing the number of moles. Okay. And if who is increasing the number of moles, it is obvious that the reverse reaction is going to increase the number of moles. So who is going to dominate? The reverse reaction is going to dominate, which is from left to right. The reverse reaction is from left to right. The products turn into reactants. So we can say that there is a left shift in equilibrium. Okay, I hope guys you have understood this up till now. Now here let's consider one example. Let me take one example over here, guys. Let's assume that I have A plus B as a reversible reaction giving 2C. Now here if you observe guys, 1 and 1, 2 moles, wait, I will explain it somewhere over this. Okay, let's say I have 1A reacting with 1B, a reversible reaction giving us 2C. Now if you consider the forward reaction, okay, if you consider forward reaction, what is the forward reaction? 1A plus 1B gives you 2C. Over here, can I say 2 moles, 1 plus 1, 2 moles are getting converted into 2 moles. Am I right? So is there any change in number of moles? No, there is no change in number of moles. Similarly, if you consider a reverse reaction, so if you consider a reverse reaction, what is a reverse reaction? 2C converting into 1A plus 1B. Again here 2 moles are getting converted into 2 moles. So is there any change in the number of moles? No, there is no change in the number of moles. Now since can I see over here that the number of moles on the reactant side is equal to the number of moles on the product side. Let me write over here. If number of moles on reactants of reactants, okay, of reactants is equals to the number of moles of products, then only when this condition is satisfied, whether you increase the pressure or whether you decrease the pressure, there will be no effect on equilibrium. Okay, so only when the number of moles of reactants is equal to number of moles of products, whether you increase the pressure or decrease the pressure, there will be literally no effect on equilibrium. And now let me tell you one thing, that whichever example we are going to consider, that is we are going to change the pressure or we are going to increase the pressure, over there these examples, like here, where is our example, okay, like here we had considered the reaction N2 plus 3H2 plus 2NH3. So here there are gases present, so you can only compress gases. As we all know, we cannot compress solids and we cannot compress liquids. Yeah, although we can compress liquids, but even after compressing the liquids, that is even after changing the pressure, there won't be a significant change in the concentration as expected in the gas. So if you change the pressure, there will be a greater change in the concentration of the gas as compared to the solid and liquid. Okay, so we consider only gaseous reactions where we increase the pressure and decrease the pressure. And do not forget to keep this point in mind, where the number of moles of reactants is equal to number of moles of products, there will be no effect on the equilibrium. There won't be right shift as well as there won't be left shift taking place, and this might be asked in your competitive examinations. So guys, now let us understand the effect of temperature on the chemical equilibrium. Now, to understand the effect of temperature, as we all know, for any reversible reaction, there is a forward reaction as well as there is a reverse reaction. So any reversible reaction consists of forward reaction where the reactants turn into products, and a reverse reaction where the products turn into reactants. Now, out of these two reactions, one will be exothermic reaction and one will be endothermic reaction. Now, what is exothermic reaction? Exothermic reaction is nothing but a reaction which gives heat, whereas a endothermic reaction is nothing but a reaction which absorbs heat. Okay, so out of the forward reaction and out of the reverse reaction, one will be a exothermic reaction and one will be a endothermic reaction. Now, which is going to be exothermic reaction and which is going to be endothermic reaction, that will be given to you in the question. Let's say this is the question given to us. N2 plus 3H2 is a reversible reaction giving us 2NH3 plus 92.2 kilojoules of heat. Now, let us write the forward reaction over here. So what is going to be the forward reaction for this reaction? N2 plus 3H2 giving us 2NH3 plus 92.2 kilojoules of heat. Now, here, since after the reaction is completed, after the reaction of N2 with 3H2 is completed, we are getting 92.2 kilojoules of heat, which means that the reactants after reacting are giving away heat, and the reaction which gives out heat is called as a exothermic reaction. So can I say your forward reaction is going to be a exothermic reaction? Okay, now let us write the reverse reaction. So what is your reverse reaction? It is nothing but 2NH3 plus N2 92.2 kilojoules giving turning back into nitrogen plus 3 moles of H2. So here, since the energy gets absorbed by this 2NH3 to convert into N2 plus 3H2, therefore absorption of heat is nothing but endothermic reaction. Now coming back to our equation, N2 plus 3H2 giving us 2NH3 plus 92.2 kilojoules. Now what is going to happen is that if you increase the temperature, okay, if you increase the temperature, which means that you are increasing the heat, okay, and if you increase the heat, then the reverse reaction here is a endothermic reaction, and since this reverse reaction requires heat and you are providing heat, so since you are providing this heat will be taken by this reverse reaction, which is nothing but a endothermic reaction, and since you are providing heat, the reverse reaction here will be boosted, and here the reverse reaction is going to dominate. So in this reaction the reverse reaction is going to dominate, and the shift in equilibrium will be from right to left. Therefore we say that there is a left shift in equilibrium. Okay, so initially it was at equilibrium, but then you increase the temperature, which means that you have supplied heat, and if you have supplied heat, who requires heat over here? Endothermic reaction requires heat, and which is an endothermic reaction? A reverse reaction is an endothermic reaction, which means that it is now going to take this heat and it is going to get boosted, which means that here the reverse reaction is going to dominate, and if the reaction is going to dominate, then we say that there is a left shift in equilibrium that is going to take place. Now suppose you decrease the temperature, okay, now if you decrease the temperature, then the exothermic reaction is going to dominate. If you are decreasing temperature, which means you are decreasing the heat, am I right? If you decrease the temperature, decreasing the heat, which means that the exothermic reaction is going to dominate. And which is your exothermic reaction over here? The forward reaction is nothing but your exothermic reaction over here. So here in this case the forward reaction is going to dominate, and forward reaction takes place from left to right, therefore we say that there is right shift in equilibrium. Now mind you guys that every time the forward reaction won't be exothermic and every time the reverse reaction won't be endothermic reaction. It completely depends on the question that is given to you. If suppose this heat was written over here, so suppose this was written over here, then the case would have been reversed. The forward reaction would have been the endothermic reaction and the reverse reaction would have been the exothermic reaction. So I hope guys, with the help of the endothermic reaction and exothermic reaction, you have understood the left shift in equilibrium as well as the right shift in equilibrium. So if you increase the temperature, you are increasing the heat, and who requires heat? The endothermic reaction requires heat, and hence the endothermic reaction will be boosted. And who is the endothermic reaction? A reverse reaction is the endothermic reaction in this case. Therefore there will be a left shift in equilibrium, and if you decrease the temperature, if we decrease the temperature, then the exothermic reaction will get boosted. And who is the exothermic reaction over here? The forward reaction is nothing but the exothermic reaction. Therefore, there will be a right shift in equilibrium as the forward reaction goes from left to right. Okay, so I hope you have understood this effect in temperature on the chemical equilibrium. Now, although the catalyst has no role, then two questions are asked and students make a mistake over here. So let us understand the effect of catalyst on a reaction. Let's say you have any reaction A reacting with B to give you C, and C reacts again back to give you A and B. Okay, now suppose you add a catalyst to it. Okay, now when you are adding a catalyst, what is the job of the catalyst? The job of the catalyst is to boost the reaction, which means that it will make the rate of the reaction faster. It will increase the rate of reaction. Now, here we have a reversible reaction, which means that the catalyst is going to increase the rate of forward reaction, as well as it is also going to increase the rate of reverse reaction. It is not that it is only going to increase the rate of forward reaction. No, it is going to increase the rate of both the forward reaction as well as the reverse reaction. And now, what is chemical equilibrium? A chemical equilibrium is nothing but a condition where the rate of forward reaction is equals to the rate of reverse reaction. Now, if the reaction is in a chemical equilibrium state, and if you add a catalyst to it, then the catalyst is going to increase the rate of forward reaction, and it is also going to increase the rate of reverse reaction. So here both the rates are increasing, and if both the rates are increasing, which means that the chemical equilibrium is going to remain stable, and both rates are also going to be equal because they both are increased in same quantity. So here we conclude that there will be no effect of catalyst on the chemical equilibrium. So guys, do check out my channel where I have uploaded physics and chemistry videos. They might be helpful for y'all. And guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more such interesting videos. Thank you for watching this video.